Living Waters presents On the Box.
All right, welcome to another edition of On the Box. I'm Mark Spence, and my microphone is working.
And I believe mine is working now, too.
Oh, well, there we go.
Because I hit the on button.
Right when we were going on.
You did that in an outstanding way.
Yeah, I knew it. See, I saw it coming, and I looked down. It didn't take much.
Yeah.
So, do we have a bunker cam? We go over to the guys behind the scenes.
Sure.
Is it working?
I believe it's working.
We can see. There they are. Look at that. There they are. Look at that.
Ron, the grown-up, and Daniel, the second grown-up. The other
I guess we
grown-up.
can call him that. Ron definitely is. Daniel.
Well, okay, define Daniel.
I don't know how to
He's
define
very
Daniel.
quiet. He's behind the scenes. He's
Daniel has a great
excellent
sense
at
of
what he
humor
does.
because it's a dry sense of
Very
humor.
dry.
And I get along with him really well. So
Would you
leave it at
consider
that.
yours dry?
no, I
No.
don't. But I love his sense of humor. So
Really?
we're able to
He is a funny guy.
get along, yeah.
He's a very funny guy.
I don't know if we've ever butted heads. Maybe once or twice.
Well, you're a little taller. That would be difficult. You would have to jump.
I head butt my chest.
But you
My chest.
Hey, we've got some guests in the studio today.
We do.
Anthony and Jana, who will be married in 2 months.
Wow.
Drove up here from beautiful San Diego,
I like San Diego. We're going to be in San Diego in a little bit.
October 20th.
Yeah. What are we doing there?
We're going to do the 180 conference. It's
Don't
gonna
miss
be
it.
Don't miss it. It's going to be a one-day conference with Mark
Yep.
and me and Ray
Yep.
and Easy,
And Randy Alcorn.
Randy Alcorn,
Sean McDowell.
Sean McDowell,
And Tebow.
Pam Tebow.
Pam Tebow.
Pam
Not
Tebow.
the other.
She's the producer of Tim Tebow,
Yes. The mother.
literally.
Yep.
And Jim Bob
Duggars.
and Michelle Duggar
Yeah, the Duggars are gonna be
coming
there
as
with
well.
us.
So it's going to be a good one-day conference down at Calvary Chapel, San Diego.
That's it.
And speaking of
Yeah.
San Diego again, we also have Jerry Langford with us.
There you go.
Jerry is with KSDW Radio in San Diego, affectionately known up our way as K-Wave, which is the
You know,
Calvary
I used
Chapel
to
Network.
for years, probably about 5-6 years, I would have K-Wave playing in the background while I slept. And I would kind of subliminally get the messages and the teachings into me. So I would have Raul Reese and Greg Laurie and Chuck Smith and Brian Broderson and Steve Mays and Skip Heitzig. I mean, these guys are just continually pumping. And then I got married. Sorry, guys. And my wife didn't like listening to the radio when I slept. So now I've got, when I can, I've got the Bible playing underneath my pillow on my iPod. So that's one way to get
This is
the
like
word
6
out of
degrees of separation because you mentioned Skip Heitzig, and that's where Ray and Easy and Eddie are today.
That's why Ray's not with us today. He's at Skip's church.
In Albuquerque, New Mexico,
That is
doing a 180 day,
Yeah.
midweek day. They're
That's
showing
exciting.
180, and yeah, very excited about that.
Yeah.
We
Good-
need to
good
settle
stuff.
down.
You know, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a 180 Sunday in,
Really?
I don't know where it's
What,
at.
what are the
it's
times?
in North Carolina.
Oh, that's you and Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie and I.
Yeah, that's
we-
been in the works for about a year, and you don't know the name yet. That's okay.
Yes.
What is it? It's a Baptist church.
I don't
isn't
have it written
Isn't
down.
it a Baptist church?
Aye.
Aye. It's okay. So join Mark and Eddie in North Carolina. It's not that big a state. It's smaller than California. You'll find them.
Yeah, we'll be there.
They could probably go to our website, though, right? livingwaters.com and
That is right.
check on what? Events?
Hit on events
Push a
and
button?
go down. You're going to see we will be there April 12-ish. 15th.
So if you
I
want
was
to book
told.
your flight and you want to know exactly when they're going to be there, go to livingwaters.com. You could find out information when all of us are speaking in various places.
That is right.
Yeah. First Wesleyan Church?
First-
Oh, that's not a Baptist church.
It's not.
First Wesleyan Baptist
Hello.
Church of North Carolina. No,
That's
it's...
right. You know, I just accepted a speaking engagement today for Cedar Falls, Iowa.
Oh,
And they said I could bring a companion, so I'm bringing one of my kids.
fine.
Yes.
I'm going to be going up to Mount Hermon. Have you ever been to Mount Hermon
No.
Christian camp?
No.
It's up in the Redwoods. Supposedly gorgeous with good food, they tell me. Maria and I are going up there in a couple of weeks for the
wow.
Police Couples Conference.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm going to the Dogwood Festival in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wow, that should be good.
I think dogwood is both a
Yeah.
tree and a flower, right?
Okay.
Huh?
It's a poke band.
It's a punk
it's a
band?
punk band.
A punk band. What did you say, a poke band?
I thought it was a poke band.
I thought you were going polka. Polka punk.
That's
It's
it.
polka punk.
Polka
What would
punk.
that sound like, polka punk?
And we have a show for you today.
We're going to get to it now. So, Mark, what do you think of this one? Is someone who walks away from the Lord always considered a false convert?
You know, I like what Ray says. It's not once saved, always saved. It's if saved, Always saved.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, are you saved? If you're saved, if God has saved you, you are secure inside of his hand, and nothing can snatch you out of his hand. So somebody that walks away, I think it's just kind of dangerous terminology, you know, to be talking around and tiptoeing through this little garden of theology. I think what we need to do is examine ourselves to see if indeed we're in the faith. Are you in the faith? That's what's important. Where were you at yesterday is really not all that important. Where you at 3 years ago is not that important. Where are you at today? If you're living a life of fornication, you're living with your girlfriend, or you're embezzling things from your work, and you have no problems living this continual lifestyle of sin, then that's a pretty good litmus test that you're not born again. Are you a false convert? Are you now anathema? I mean, what happened? Guess what? Get right with God today. That's really where I'm at. I don't know if I understand all the terminology. I think God understands where it's all at.
I would say we know God knows.
Yes.
Where all that's at.
And where is that?
We're all God knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't presume to know. I don't presume to have the mind of the Lord or offer him any counsel.
Right.
That would be against Romans 11, and I don't want to go there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hello.
But we are supposed to be fruit inspectors, though.
Yeah.
Right? There's only one lawgiver and judge. There's only one who's able to save and destroy, and that's God. That's not Tony or Mark. But we are to judge.
Yeah. I mean, how can you be aware of false prophets unless you deem somebody as a false prophet?
Exactly.
You know, when we judge, we use righteous judgment. So we're not judging someone, hey, that person just died. Are they in heaven or hell? I have no idea. Adolf Hitler, is he in heaven or hell? I got no idea. If he carried
we have a good
out,
idea, but we don't know with 100%
right.
certainty, right?
Right. If he carried out his worldview till the very end, you know.
If he did not repent and put his trust and faith in Jesus Christ alone for his salvation, he is in hell.
He's in hell.
Just like everybody else.
And the Bible makes it very clear.
Yeah.
So,
and I like to tell people there are people a lot nicer than me and a lot nicer than you in hell.
yeah. People a whole lot nicer than Tony, next to Tony, sitting in the stands on the other side. Not me.
What were you just saying? What were you just saying?
Not that there's people nicer than you on the other side. Not
There
me.
is.
I'm not nicer.
Oh,
than
you are. Yeah, you
No.
are. Sure you are.
Come on.
Okay. Enough self-deprecation. Here we go. Next one. You'll like this one. You always like this one. I think you've answered this one in one of our episodes here in season 4.
Really?
Maybe. You'll know. What do you say to someone who says, after witnessing to them, well, the Bible can be interpreted many different ways?
Yeah, I would say, is that your interpretation? I mean, everything has an interpretation. You know, when somebody comes up to me and says, the Bible's not trustworthy, you can't trust the Bible, I typically respond with, oh, so you believe in truth. What is truth according to your worldview? Where do you get truth from? Because, you know, in John 17, I think verse 17, Jesus said, sanctify them by your truth. Your word is truth. Right? So we get truth right here within Scripture, within the pages. And nobody outside of Christendom, within their worldview, has truth within their worldview.
That's right.
They may have truth components, right? But truth is that which conforms to reality. We have that. We alone have that. Why? Because Jesus is the truth.
That's right. And every other worldview has to steal from the woodpile of Christianity in order to build their own worldview.
That is exactly right. So if the moment people begin to dog on the Bible, you know, and say, hey, you can't trust the Bible, I say, well, what can you trust? And what you're left with is every man trusting themselves, and everything becomes autonomous or subjective. I get to determine what truth is. You get to determine what truth is. And we can all contradict each other, and it doesn't matter. In fact, that doesn't make sense if we're able to do that. So we need to have a standard outside of ourselves. That becomes an objective standard, not subjective.
Right.
And this objective standard comes from God alone. So, well, the Bible's filled with many different interpretations. I might also say, what do you mean by that? Or why, according to your worldview, would that be wrong? Are contradictions allowed within your worldview?
Or give me an example of different interpretations. Ted the Atheist. Did you ever run into Ted the Atheist?
Down in Huntington?
Beach?
No, never heard of him.
Oh. Fibber! Ninth Commandment violation.
Yeah, no.
Warning.
I've never personally bumped into him, but I know who he is.
Yeah. A simple question to ask Ted the Atheist and any other atheist who walks up to the mic and says, you know, the Bible's full of contradictions, the Bible's wrong.
Right.
I'll politely ask, can I ask you a few questions just to see where you're at regarding the Bible so I know who I'm talking to? How many books are in the Bible?
All right.
Who wrote the Pentateuch?
Right.
You know, who wrote the majority of the New Testament? I don't know. None of that matters. Well, wait a minute. You're criticizing a book you know absolutely nothing about. And it all goes back to Romans 1:18. They're
Yeah.
merely trying to suppress the truth in their unrighteousness.
You know, exactly. I do the same sort of tactic. You know, people say, hey, I've read the Bible.
And you do it a lot better than I do, by the way.
Not at all. But I'll say, hey, people say, hey, I've read the Bible. And I go, really? I go, what is the book of Ruth about? And they go, Book of Ruth, what's that? I go, that's one of the books within that 66-book framework that we call the Bible. What is it about? I mean, if I've read a book, I can tell you what it's about. What is the book of Ruth about? And boy, it's just like a deer in headlights. They have no idea. But what they can come up with are 101 clear contradictions that Shabir Ali has written on the internet.
That's right. We call them cut and pasters,
Cut and pasters.
affectionately. They're cut and pasters.
Yeah.
They've never opened the Bible. They go to their favorite websites that attack the Bible, and they cut and paste things from that website and declare them as truth.
Yeah,
and then again, robbing from the Christian woodpile of truth to determine what
that
truth
is exactly right. And they're not interested in the answer.
Right. No.
You know,
They're just trying to justify their unbelief at our expense.
I recently was in Washington, D.C. Just a few weeks ago, and they're at the atheist rally.
Yeah.
And there was this guy who works at this Episcopalian church, came down and he sat down with us. It was Saitin Bruggencay and Eric Hovind. And he said, you know, I work at this church, but I've been questioning this whole Christianity thing. Wondering if I can grab a seat and talk with you guys. Didn't know that we were Christians. We said, you came to the right place. And when he sat down, we began to challenge him now with his new worldview. And he goes, I got to go now. Got to go now? You just sat down. You asked to sit down. Where do you really have to go? And it proves really one point, that men love darkness. Why?
Yes.
Because they are darkness. They're not in darkness as much as the Apostle Paul says they are darkness.
That's right.
They love their sin. And a sinner doesn't want to find God for the same reason a bank robber doesn't want to find a cop.
That's right.
Doesn't want him to exist. He loves what he's doing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. All right, young man here has a difficult decision in front of him. I am 20 years old, and like a lot of people my age, he also likes a lot of people his age.
Hope so.
But like a lot of people my age, have no idea what to do. As far as I know, the Bible doesn't say much about vocation, but I could be wrong. So, do I go to college? Not go to college? Bible college? What major? I have been praying for God to give me wisdom in making this decision. I don't want my education/job to rule my life to the point that evangelizing and my time in the things of God really suffer. However, I also want to be able to provide for my family and myself. As college is so expensive these days, this decision is really important for people my age. Do you guys have any advice on making this decision? I really appreciate your advice, even though we haven't given it yet. He appreciates it anyway. Thank you so much for sharing the true gospel message and answering questions. It has been tremendously helpful. And he's saying all these nice things, and we've yet to answer his question. So let's burst his bubble, shall we?
Yeah, well, you know, I was told that the average college student will change his major 7 times.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was in college, I went from, oh boy, you ready for this? Business, liberal arts, to sign language, to being a speech pathologist, to majoring in English lit, and now I finished off with getting into the Bible. You know, so I was all over the place. I think that my advice to somebody like this would be real simple. And that is to move forward. You got to be moving forward. You don't just sit on your hands and go, hey, I'm waiting patiently on the Lord. You know, they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. That word wait can actually in Hebrew mean to move forward. It means to be active, right? So I think that if you move forward, you can actually be geared in the direction where the Lord can now steer you. You know, there's an old pun that says it's easier to move a moving semi-truck than one that is parked still. I'm not getting anywhere. Well, move forward. Begin to move forward. Do what you know, and you'll know what to do. You know, when you fall back on something you don't understand, you always fall back on that which you do understand. You know that you need to provide for your family. If you don't, you're worse than an infidel. Well, living in sunny Southern California, you need to have somewhat of a good-paying job, because things are so expensive here. I remember when we talked about maybe moving to Texas and the cost of living was 40% cheaper than it was here. Well, we could all get a decrease in our pay and still be making more money than we do here. Well, how can we do that? Well, as we begin to move forward, we'll know what to do. And here in Southern California, if you want to live here, you need to have a good paying job. And if you're going to have a good paying job, well, you need to have some sort of an education or know somebody in order for it to have a good profession. So I would say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with going to school, but what school? right? Choose wisely. Get wisdom from your pastor, from your friends, and from your parents. You know, when I didn't know what to do, what am I going to do? I'm going to go inside school. So I went to Golden West College, and then Coastline, and then Orange Coast College, and then Calvary Chapel Bible College, and then I went to Cal State Fullerton. And, you know, I mean, I just began to continually moving forward. How about you? What is your...
Well, I started out as a music major. I was going to be
Do you still play the flute?
I play the guitar, thank you very much.
Who was it then? Oh, it's probably Daniel.
Probably Daniel. Yeah, all this gets caught in the little holes in the flute, so I had to stop playing the flute. It was too painful. Yeah. But I started out as a music major, dabbled with the idea of being an astronomy major, and settled with majoring in dating my future wife, which got me 1 credit at Mount San Antonio College in beautiful downtown Walnut, California. But, you know, he says that college is so expensive, and it can be, but it doesn't have to be. There are community colleges out there. You're getting an education for pennies on the dollar. You could take classes online now at a lot of colleges and universities. So there are cheaper ways to go. You do have to get a job, and getting a college education is no guarantee that you're going to have a job, a good-paying job.
That's true.
Right? I would hazard a guess that there are a lot of highly educated people right now working at Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out because there's just nothing out there for them.
You worked at In-N-Out?
I worked at In-N-Out for 4 years, graduated
Yes,
from the first manager training school. Thank you very much, and I ended up here 30 years later. Would have been a lot wealthier. Would have been a lot wealthier if I stayed with In-N-Out.
Yes.
So seriously, I mean, you don't need a college degree to be a manager at In-N-Out Burger, but they're making well over $100,000 a year.
Wow.
Right? So it just depends how hard you're willing to work. And I liked what you said. Don't just sit on your hands. You didn't use those words exactly, but move forward.
I had to sit on my hands when I was in high school.
Did you?
Because I was always pulling the people's hair in front of me or ripping something or writing on my desk. My teacher would just go, just sit on your hands and be quiet, Mark.
That didn't work, did it?
Well, I went to 14 different schools. So,
well, you were moving a lot.
Yeah, I did.
It wasn't because of discipline issues. This family moved a great deal.
Yes.
But how many were you kicked out of?
1.
You were actually kicked out of 1?
Bible college. Let's move on.
Okay, carrying on. All right. I woke up this morning to screaming. This is a letter. I didn't wake up to screaming. Okay. I woke up this morning to, although I used to arrest people in my sleep.
Did you?
Which did from time to time traumatize my wife.
Did you ever pepper spray students for protesting the high cost of fees?
No, but we're going to play that video sometime this week. But I would have responded in kind, I think. But that's another story.
Have you ever pepper sprayed someone?
No, but I've been pepper sprayed by my partners.
Did you videotape it?
No, there were no videotapes back then.
Back in the Carter administration.
Back in the day, yeah. Back when we were still riding horses. Anyways, I woke up this morning to screaming, yelling, angry neighbors fighting, cursing, saying such vulgar words right in front of their crying child. She might have been around 6 or 7 years old. Anyway, I tend to always hear them fighting. So I thought, I'm going to leave a gospel tract on their property. Thank you so much for these great $1 trillion gospel tracts, as well as preaching the gospel to lost souls. Hopefully the neighbor reads it. Now, I know what's going to happen. This angry neighbor is going to pick up the tract, having no idea where it came from. They're going to read livingwaters.com in the back, and they're going to send us a nasty email saying, why are you leaving tracts on my property? But we got to applaud the effort. But I think there's a bigger issue here. But I want to hear what you have to say first about this.
I not too long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, which I guess is a long time. So before you became a Christian, I was at a gas station, and there was a guy that was zooming around on his car, and he came squealing in, and he was so angry, so irate. He jumped out of his car. He goes running over to the sidewalk, and he was raising his fist at another car that was going by, and he was so upset. And I ran over to him with a tract that we used to carry called Mad as Hell. And there was a picture of this guy on the track, and he's all red, he's all steaming, he's all upset. And I said, sir, you look like you could really use one of these right about now. And I handed it to him. He looked at it, and he laughed. He goes, I think I could. Hey, I needed to laugh today. Without telling him that it was a gospel tract.
And then you ran.
And then I ran away so before he could raise his fist at me. And I don't remember what the question was that we're dealing with,
okay.
But that's exactly what happened. As a true story.
Reminded me of something that happened at the Super Bowl outreach. We're preaching on the corner of Walk, Don't Walk.
Is this when you got hit by a burrito?
No, this is before I got hit by the burrito.
In the face?
In the face.
Did it break your nose?
It did not break my nose. It's always looked that way. Leave me alone.
Oh.
Anyways, we're preaching, and someone's crossing the street.
Yep.
A driver didn't like the idea that he was crossing the street, so the driver slams on the brakes, gets out of his car with it running, puts it in park, leaves it in the middle of the lane, and goes chasing the pedestrian down the street.
Wow.
Yeah, it was better than the Super Bowl. But anyways, it's good that you left a tract.
Yeah.
That's neat.
In the mailbox? Is that a
No,
good place
that's
to leave?
illegal. It's illegal to leave gospel tracts or other unsolicited, unmetered mail in a mailbox.
It doesn't matter
in
what
the United
state.
States. It doesn't matter. It is a federal offense
I
in the
need to
United States.
change my approach.
Well, at least dust your
I
tracts
mean,
for
my friend's
prints.
approach.
There you go. It was nice that you left a tract, but you woefully fell short.
Can I
in this
tape it
incident.
to the mailbox?
On the outside?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Take a camera with you.
Ooh.
I just want to see the arrest. You fell woefully short on this one. You hear people yelling and screaming and fighting. You hear a young child crying. You should not sheepishly put a gospel tract somewhere on their property. You should be dialing 911.
Call the popo.
Call the popo. That's right. Yeah, you're not truly loving your neighbor if there's a 6-year-old possibly being traumatized, verbally abused, emotionally abused, physically abused, or the wife or the husband for that matter. If that's going on, you hear that all the time, it's time to get some other people involved. And then when they come knocking on your door and saying, "Did you call the police?" "Yes, you look mad as hell. Would you please take one of these?" That's what you do.
Wow. You know, this kind of reminds me of talking to an atheist. You know, an atheist can say, you know
They
what?
do have a tendency to be angry.
If they do. You're a Christian. That's all fine and dandy. You can believe whatever you want to believe as long as it doesn't harm anyone. I go, wait a minute. How do you define harm? I mean, because we know, like you just brought up a case, that a child can be harmed by never being touched. Maybe hearing something or forced to watch something that they shouldn't watch or hear. You know, so when you say you can believe whatever you want to believe as long as it doesn't harm someone, how do you define harm? What if I said I was harmed by your cul-de-sac, you know, your lack of hair up there, right? I'm just because it kind of...
I wonder where that was going. You look at the top of my head and say cul-de-sac. Now I know.
But what if...
How's my cul-de-sac today?
But what if I could say
Kind
I'm
of
being
like
harmed?
Knots Landing.
Right? So you can't say that I'm not being harmed by you having an outlandish hairstyle or a worldview that is contrary to Christianity, right? So we have to once again go back to the Word of God when we are evangelizing, right? When we have, when we do anything, we have to fall back upon that worldview. So, Tony, I like that guy.
Are we done with that one?
Yes.
Okay. Fort Bragg. You ever been in the military?
Never.
Me neither.
My dad was
Your
in.
dad was?
He was in the Navy.
Yeah.
He went to Vietnam twice.
Make sure you thank him for his service for me.
Okay.
And Brad was I
on
think an
my
Air Force
phone.
brat. He like you went to like 75 different high schools. He went to school on Guam. Guam, it's that little island out in the middle of nowhere.
That is a U.S. territory.
Easy actually, I think, got invited to preach at a conference at Guam.
Yep.
I think it was like 5 people and 6 iguanas. But anyways, at Fort Bragg concert geared towards atheists.
All right.
The atheist concert.
Worship band.
There you go. Yes, and they are worshiping.
Yeah.
A God of their own choosing, a God of their own making. Let no one confuse you. Atheism is not an intellectual framework. It is a religious belief.
Yeah. Pseudo-intellectual.
There you go. It's very pseudo-intellectual. For the first time in history, the U.S. military hosted an event expressly for soldiers and others who don't believe in God, with a gathering sort of like a county fair. Saturday on the main parade ground at one of the world's largest army bases. The Rock Beyond Belief event
Wow.
at Fort Bragg, organized by soldiers here after a 2010 evangelical Christian event at the base, is the most visible sign so far of a growing desire by military personnel with atheist or other secular beliefs to get the same recognition as their religious counterparts. The purpose was not to make the Army look bad, organizers said, but to show that atheists and other secular believers have a place in institutions like the military. I don't think anyone ever was thrown out of the military ever for being an atheist.
Yep.
Don't think that's ever happened. I love the military, said Sergeant Justin Griffith, main organizer of the event and the military director of American Atheists. He added, "This is not meant to be a black eye." Griffith said he and other non-religious soldiers are not permitted to hold atheist meetings at the base and have so far been rebuffed in their efforts to change that. They feel their beliefs marginalize them. Organizers were hoping for a crowd of about 5,000. At least several hundred people gathered on the parade ground by midday Saturday. Rainy weather for most of the morning may have affected the turnout. Fort Bragg officials said they would provide a crowd estimate later. Yada, yada, yada. Guess who the keynote speaker was? One, Richard. I think life began on the back of meteorites in the form of crystals. Dawkins, who's now an agnostic, not an atheist.
You know, you said that nobody's been kicked out of the military for being an atheist. However, if an atheist carries out their worldview, in that they have no authoritative figure telling them what is right and wrong, and every man does that which is right in his own eyes, then they would be kicked out, because the atheistic worldview is survival of the fittest. Do whatever it takes to move forward. Hey, you do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do. It's do whatever it takes to get forward, to move ahead. So the atheistic worldview, not our worldview, but the atheistic worldview is one that says, hey, I can do this act as long as I can get away with it. And if I can get away with it, I'm going to do that act. That's not the Christian worldview, though, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah, it does. You know, it doesn't bother me that the atheists gathered together by the hundreds to worship the God of self.
Yeah, it's their church gathering.
It's their church gathering, right? We have a freedom of religion here in this country, and atheism is in fact a religion.
Yes.
And I celebrated National Atheism Day.
April 1st.
April 1st.
Yes. The fool has said in his heart there is no God.
By preaching that very passage on Hollywood Boulevard.
How'd it go?
It went well. There you go. I'm going to post a video up on YouTube later.
Oh, wow.
So,
can't wait. Okay. Looking forward to it.
Hey, we're about out of time, but I want to get to one more thing. This will be short. This will be easy. I think it's a yes-no answer. Yesterday, my church group that did that Way of the Master class, you know that one? That one.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yep. Went to the local mall, handed out tracts, and witnessed. Good. Is it normal to feel exhausted?
Boy, you know, I typically have a headache when I'm done open-air preaching or doing one-on-one. It takes me a lot to detox. If I come back at 1 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't just collapse into bed. My mind is just going,
Yep.
Welcome to the warfare of evangelism.
That's right. Yeah, I liken it to being in a foot pursuit. You know, every time I open-air preach, every time I've been out on the streets for a little while, I'm ready for a nap. And I think it's the same for the pulpit. You know, when I was pastoring and preaching 2 or 3 times on a Sunday morning, you know, after that second or third sermon, I mean, you're ready to watch the last round of golf on Channel 4 so you could just take a nap.
Yeah. Did you ever have to pursue someone on foot when you were a cop?
Oh, yes.
Did anybody ever outrun you?
Here comes the joke. Yes. Yes, I have been outrun. But they cannot outrun. It's okay, you got to fix that. There you go. You cannot outrun a helicopter or a German Shepherd. You can't. So.
I won't try. You know, I didn't outrun a German Shepherd.
Or a 4-barrel carburetor opening up.
You know, a German Shepherd mauled me in the face.
I know that.
I had hundreds of stitches.
Yes.
My eye popped out.
And I never asked you about your nose.
Yep. It's because it's perfect.
Yes.
The way God made me.
Mark is practically perfect in every way. Until tomorrow, be encouraged, strengthened, and unafraid. Proclaim the gospel.
Hi, Mom.
No, not again. You're full of it!
Living Waters presents On the Box.